And we begin our show today looking at a couple of alternative energies. How viable are they really? Joining me to talk about it first, Nathaniel Green. He is Senior Energy Policy Specialist at the National Resources Defense Council. Also with us, my CNBC colleague, Gordon Blau, a senior graphics designer who every day drives to work in a screaming red Jetta powered by oil from his local Chinese restaurant. Wow. Nice to have you with us, gentlemen.
Hi, Maria.
So, Gordon, this is amazing that you're doing this, coming to work every day in this car powered by vegetable oil. What made you do it? How much money do you think you've saved?
Well, what made me do it was Hurricane Katrina. When gas prices rocketed, I realized how much I was spending just to get back and forth here. I drive like 30,000 miles a year. So I did the math, and it became very clear I had to do something. So I did this vegetable oil conversion on my car, and I'm saving, right, current gas prices, well over $3,000 a year.
$3,000 a year. So now you had to get a converter, right? It cost you $1,700 to get a converter kit and install it in the car, right?
Right. First step's getting a diesel car, because they were invented actually to run on vegetable oil. And then the kit, which gives you a second tank and a valving system, and you get that installed, and the total cost $1,700, which I made up in 6 months.
Nathaniel, any diesel car can do what Gordon's does, right? Why don't more Americans own diesel?
Well, there's a history with diesel cars, fuel availability, high prices. The performance of diesel cars, especially in the 70s and early 80s, was not as great. And then there are also emissions problems with the diesel that most cars run on, not the vegetable oil that Gordon's using.
Gordon, tell us how you do it. We want to show some video of you at home actually going through the process of converting the vegetable oil. How long does it take? And explain how basically this works.
I probably spend about 2.5 hours a week between collecting and filtering and delivering the oil to my car. But it's not quality time. It's pretty gross. It's pouring this filthy oil into filters and scraping all the gunk out of the filters and then cranking it through another higher filtration until I can actually get it for use in my car. But that's it. It's not that much time, 2.5 hours a week.
And you're getting the oil from the local Chinese restaurant?
Yeah, that was my first step, was just going to the restaurants that I typically go to, right. And they know my face, and I just asked them if I could get their used oil. They're a little incredulous at first. They look at me like I've got two heads, but when I explained to them all about it, they're more than happy to give it away.
Well, we're all worried about how much we pay for gasoline. As we're continuing this discussion, we thought it would be fun to go through the years and show you know, how much gas used to cost starting in the 1950s in America. Let's turn to ethanol as we look at these on the bottom of our screen. For a moment on ethanol, President Bush had a lot to say about ethanol. Nathaniel, what exactly is ethanol? Explain it, and is it available right now to drivers?
Ethanol is, it's basically 200 proof whiskey. This is what they used to brew up in the stills in the backyard. We make it from corn today. We use small amounts of it mixed with gasoline. It's widely used across the country, but it's not something that you can choose, really. It's either in the gasoline or it's not. So unlike Gordon, who can choose which fuel he wants to use based on the prices, the rest of us, we can't choose ethanol yet, and that's really what we need to be shooting for.
Well, you say, Nathaniel, that if drivers switch to alternative energies such as ethanol, they could actually be paying less than $1 a gallon in less than 10 years from now?
That's right. The advanced technologies that we're developing right now here in the U.S. To turn plants grown here in the U.S. into ethanol are really exciting, and the cost looks like it's going to be better than gasoline at any price that we can forecast for gasoline right now.
What about automakers? You think they're doing their part?
Well, they're certainly making a lot of noise now about selling vehicles that can use both gasoline and up to 85% ethanol. These are called flex fuel vehicles.
Right.
They basically give you the sort of choice that Gordon has in a sort of more consumer-friendly package, if you will.
In fact, Chrysler CEO spoke at the Energy Conference immediately following the president's speech on Tuesday. Listen to what he had to say about that.
Is the auto industry ready to do its part? You bet we are. In fact, the sensor that pioneered flex fuel capability in cars was a Chrysler innovation.
Do people not realize that they have the option of flex fuel cars, Nathaniel?
Most of us don't, and that's because of under the current system, the reason the automobile manufacturers have been selling flex fuel vehicles is to get credits towards their fuel economy standards. So they've had no incentive for you or me or anyone to actually put ethanol in these vehicles. So there are 5 million of these cars on the road, still a pretty small percentage of our overall cars, but most of those have no labels on them, and so most of the owners don't even know they would have that choice. And then, of course, the fuel isn't widely available at the pump.
Interesting. Gordon, everything has its downsides, right? What are the downsides other than you said, you know, it's 2.5 hours, it's not quality time, it's gross, you said.
Right, yeah, that's the downside is the labor involved.
Does it smell?
My basement smells exactly like Chinese noodles because that's what was frying in there. But the smell of the car when it's running, just a very vague food-like smell, not at all unpleasant. Certainly more pleasant than smelling diesel fumes. And the other downside is if you forget to flush the vegetable oil out on a cold day, it can actually gel up and you just can't start your car. But the system is designed with a flush switch, so as long as you remember to do it, you won't have a problem.
Do you think this is the tipping point, Nathaniel?
I think, you know, there are so many reasons for us to get off of oil right now. Petroleum oil, not vegetable oil. From our economic pain that we're all suffering right now at the pump, environmental concerns, the threat to our climate that we want to leave to our children, and obviously we all realizing how much our foreign policy is hamstrung by our addiction to oil. So we just need to get off of it, and I think people are starting to really wake up to that problem.
Really interesting. Thanks so much for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Sure thing.
And congratulations to you, Gordon. Great to see you. Nathaniel Green of the Natural Resources Defense Council and my colleague, Gordon Blau.